Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a 3D swipe interaction in Protopie. This is going to be a quick one as usual, so let's get right to it. So I have Protopie open and I've already imported my designs from Figma. So what I did here is to create a custom device. I believe this is the iPhone 15 393 by 852, set density about 3, and I uncheck the status bar because I'll be adding mine. I'm just going to be walking you through what you see here quickly. So we look to the left, we have our bottom indicator, which is what we just have below here. We have the status bar, I have the headline text, and I have the back arrow. And this two is the video. If I expand this first one, we're gonna just be seeing the content that we have here. And this other container is basically the video. And you're gonna notice I have a max here, but that's only because I was trying to achieve a progressive blur. And the only way to do that was by duplicating these videos into two. So I have two videos. I layered one on top and layered the other one below it. And I created a gradient on Figma, which is what you see here. I just gave it the color of purple, but it doesn't matter. I turned down the opacity and then I set a background blur, which is what you can do if you hit the shape here. I created that as well, and then I maxed it to the video above it. And that was the only way you could see here I achieved this. I mean, you don't have to, but this is just a tip I'm showing you guys if you want to achieve this. So if I expand it to, it's basically the same thing you see here. So I'm not going to be walking through that. So let's just get right to it. So the first thing we're going to do is to create a scroll container. So I'm going to go here and hit my scroll container. And the size is going to be about the size of the device. So just make sure whatever device you set, that's what you're matching the scroll container to be. So it has to be 392 and 852. And for this, I'll make sure this is positioned properly. And I'm gonna put these just around here, and I'll be renaming this to a scroll container. And next thing I'm gonna do is to take these two and put it in there. And if we click the scroll container, and we're gonna set this on paging, and we're gonna set it to page by container. The direction is gonna be vertical because we're scrolling this way, right? So what I'm gonna do now is to add a trigger, and it's gonna be a chain trigger. So we're chaining our scroll container to the scroll, and what we'll be setting here is gonna be the first one 3D rotate, and I'm just gonna be adding the other one 3D rotate. So before we move forward, I'm going to be creating a variable, and this variable is basically values you'll be seeing that becoming our scroll values, basically, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to be doing here is to create a variable for this scene. So I'm just going to be calling this scroll, and you click here, just set use formula. And what I'm going to be doing here is clicking this. I'll just be searching for the scroll container and hit dot scroll offset. That's what we're looking for, and hit OK. So if I turn on this little ladybug you see here, you can see it right there. So what I'm trying to do is just to determine the values. So you can see right now it's on 0, but when I scroll to the other one is on 852, which is basically what we set here for the container. I'm just going to be using these values to know how far I want these to rotate. So if I click back, we're going to click back to the first one, which is this. And I'm going to be setting these to custom, and I'll be pinning this down here. So 50, because it's coming from here, right? And for the perspective, we're going to set it about 500. You could tweak this, but because I did this, I know 500 feels better for this. So for the values here is going to be, the first range is going to be at 0. So right now, when it's at 0, nothing happens. So it's just going to be 0. So what I want it to do basically is if I scroll right now, nothing is happening, but I want it when it gets somewhere halfway, but it's not exactly halfway. So somewhere about 300, I want this to start, having some perspective. So basically that 3D angle should start being obvious. So I am gonna set the scroll value to be 300, and the angle can be at 45, and the direction is going to be this because it's this way. So if I check this right now, this is what is happening. So this is not working right. So let's take this one more time. So what I'm going to do is to set a second range. For this time, I'm going to make this at 0. So we're going to take this back at 0. And for the second range, I'm going to have it to be 300 again. And I'm going to make this at 0. So right now, nothing is happening because I felt like then when I had it at 45, it started coming in too early. So what I'm going to do is to delay it a bit. That's why I set it at 0. So now between the range of 300 and 852, I then want it to have the angle, and it's going to be the same direction. So let's see. So just pay attention to the values. Right now, nothing is happening. But when we move past 300, we can see that going this way. So this is exactly what I want. So I want it to keep the lane here, and then it scrolls that way, which is cool. So that's it for the first one. And the second one is going to be similar, but we're just going to have different values. So for the custom, it's going to be this way. So we're pinning it here because obviously it's coming from that way. And the perspective for this should be 800. And for the range, it's just going to be at 0. I want this to be negative 90 because when I start to see the other one, I want it to be obvious already. So it shouldn't scroll straight. I want it to come from that perspective. So for the scroll value, it's just going to be 852. So it's just going to be the scroll container between 0 to 852. When it gets there, I want it to have nothing because when it gets past to 852, which is the limit of our container, nothing should happen. So if I'm just going to take that to that direction. So now if we look at it, you can see we're already seeing this that way. So that's basically what we're setting here. So I'm just saying that at 0, right, I want it to have an angle of negative 90. So we could already see the 3D effect happening as the video is coming in. And when we get to 852, nothing happens. So this is basically the 3D rotate, guys. So the extra thing I guess you probably see on my video is this little bar moving. It's filling as the video plays. That's quite simple to achieve. So I'm just going to expand this container. So where we have our content, which is this. So if I just zoom in on here, we're gonna see it. I believe I had mine at 3, about, I don't know if it's 354. I think that was the value. Okay, that's a little bit far. I think 352. Yeah, so I'm just trying to match it to where this ends. So 353 works. So what I'm going to do is take this back. I can just set it back at 0 because now it doesn't matter. So what I'll be doing is to look for that video. So the first video I had, I just called it Teddy Smith. So the one that, since it's the artist, right? So it's the first one I layered on top. I'm just going to be chaining that video time. So we'll be looking for time, and I'll be selecting this rectangle, right? So I'm just gonna zoom out to the one we just set at 0, and I'll be adding a scale. And what I'm gonna do here is when it's at 0, right, I want the width to be at 0. But the time for this video, because I edited these in Premiere Pro, and the max time for this was 14 seconds. So I'm just going to type that in. So at 14 it should be that width we just set, which is 353, I believe. I'm not sure. Oops. Oh, it didn't work because what's wrong with the time? So take this back to 14. Now that should work. You can see it's moving here. So it's basically chaining the video to the little white bar. So we can do the same thing for this. So I'm just gonna I just unclick this because it looks hidden. So the same thing, but what I'm gonna do is just duplicate this so it's easier. What I called the other video was Jimin. That's the artist's name, and it's the first one. The same time. But for this, it's gonna be this other one, rectangle 2, and the size start at 0, but the max length for the second video was 20. So I'll be changing that to 20. And if I scroll, you see that works too for this. Let me uncheck this our little ladybird so you can see clearly. So we basically have our 3D swipe interaction done. Easy peasy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.